Everyone, welcome to the modern market, where every day we discuss all things to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to make some or a lot of money on the internet. Loaded up for discussion today. We've got ETH pushing up to 4.3K, whilst the rest of the market is very much still waiting for the Powell Jackson Hole speech. We've been talking about it a lot. Maybe we've spoken about it too much. We'll reflect on it one final time before that takes place later today, but we've got other interesting things to talk about too. We'll talk about MetaMask announcing its own stablecoin. Brad will break that down in just a little bit, and we'll talk about Hyperliquid pre-market for Plasma's XPL launching, trading at around 4.7 billion in early trading after its latest $500 million FDV public raise. We were speaking about that a lot. Thought it was an excellent opportunity. Seems to be proving that way. We'll break it down a little bit. We also got the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs as usual, plus a general discussion on where we think things are flowing. So stay tuned for that. I'm delighted to say I've got Brad and Funky on the show with us today. We are looking forward to get into it, but just a reminder before we do, nothing that we say here is financial advice. The market is incredibly risky. We do not know anything for sure, so please do proceed with caution. And as always, exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Funky, it's Friday. It's Funky Friday. Some would say it's the 22nd of August. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
It's a great day. It is Funky Friday. And just as a quick note, next week is my birthday, my 50th. And I'm going to actually launch my own weekly space called Funky Friday. It'll just be like a long form interview about whatever. So looking forward to that. But yeah, just excited for today's show. Excited for the conversation as always. Honored to be here. And thanks so much for having me, V.
Very nice. We've got to be there on Funky Friday, of course. It's got to be the name, got to be there in attendance. Do you have anyone lined up for your first interview, Funky, on Funky Friday?
Well, I was actually going to ask if you and Legendary, but he's away on holiday because I really wanted to have you as the first conversation because you're partly the inspiration. So if you're available, I'm springing it on you now. If you're not, no worries. It's just going to be a FAFO episode because I have no idea where this is going to go. I don't want it to be necessarily about markets. It could be about life. It could be about all sorts of things, but
I can be there. Timing dependent, depending on what's going on. I will be there. Legendary will be on a beach, on a catamaran, or whilst gambling, I suspect. So I don't know if he's going to be there at this specific moment in time.
What a life.
What a life. Catamarans and gambling. It's going well. It's going well from what I hear anyway. Brad, what about you? What's going on your side? You're getting ready for a little bit of movement as well, I believe.
True.
Catamarans and gambling for you?
Bigfoots. It's a little different. I'm in the Pacific Northwest and we're going camping this weekend. Okay. But it's like we're doing like a little deeper camping. So we're going to go pick up a Sprinter van. And for those who aren't familiar with like these areas, it's like a van that's just like pimped out for sleeping in and having a bunch of shit, right? So it's got all the cook space, it's got all that, whatever. So we're gonna pick one of those up today, a couple hours, like 6 hours from now, and then just drive out into the woods for the weekend with the pup. See how she does.
Sounds pretty fun. Pretty fun. Tell me about this camper van. What's do you have
Sprinter van is what they call them.
Sprinter van. Okay, I don't know the vernacular. So yeah, do you have any demands here? What are we looking at inside of it?
See, I don't. I'm more of like I've done some deep wooden, right? I was gonna go grab my fucking hammock and just go like sleep amongst the trees and shit. It's like that's my vibe. I did that when I was in Norway. Okay. Which is, if no one's done it, hammock camping is the way to go. If you're questioning it, it's actually
sleeping out on a hammock, open air.
But yeah, you can get surprisingly insulated with those motherfuckers. Like, bro, you get the hammock, you get the quilt under the hammock because that's how you insulate the heat, right? It's a hammock quilt, and then you get the tarp over the top, and you get a tarp on the ground. It's so much better. I did it in Norway in winter with it like intermittently raining. So it's like with wind, with rain, with snow. I was the one that was advantaged over these MFers that were camping in tents next to me because like, dude, think about it. You're in the rain, right? You're sitting there, you're outside. You got to start putting this thing up. You got to open the door inside to go in and out. You're letting water get in, and you have puddles inside your insulated thing. Me, I just go and I just threw up a fucking tarp over the top of me, And then like I'm operating under the tarp. I'm like, cool, I just do that. I set up all my stuff. It's just easy peasy. It's really good and really cozy.
I'm not sure I'm doing any of this, but if I am doing any of it, I don't mind that. You know, it's kind of low frills. Funky, are you getting persuaded here on the camping side?
I love a good hammock. The one thing I'm wondering about the entire time, Brett, is like, what about movement in your sleep? I mean, like people like
Snug as a bug.
Like, you're just like
snug as,
You're just
snug as a bug. Yeah. Yeah, you
cocoon.
get a sleeping bag to go inside the hammock then, and then you just crawl inside that, and you're literally you're like you're a cocoon.
I kind of like that. It's like you have to option to move.
You're locked in.
You think you move, but no, not this time. You're just going to
you're like you're in the womb. You're a baby again. It's great.
Swaddling, right? It's like a baby, like wrapped up in swaddling.
Yep.
Okay. I'm open to it. I'm open to it. If I ever go down that route, which it's unclear if I will. But
look, I'm gonna be honest.
Cool.
I did all this shit before, and like I think I got a lot of it out of my system. But we're here, so it's like okay, we should do some of this. So we're going back down the path of doing it. Plus we got the pup that we want to see how she does.
That's fun. That's fun. Nice to see people getting out. Frankly, Ledger's on holiday. Brad's taking a break.
It'll take me away on Monday. I'm going all weekend.
There we go. Get off service sometimes. Jackson Hole. There's only so many days in a row you can talk about Jackson Hole.
Hey, I don't know what I'm going to come back to be honest, with all the buildup for today. Like, I'm just going to come back and it's going to be, Terminators walking around. It's going to be, everything's on fire.
Yeah. When Funky gets to that segment, I've got because I was trying to get into it even more yesterday and even this morning, listening to some more content on it. And I'll tell you what the conclusion is in a little bit in the show, because I don't know. I think we've just completely overdone it by this point, to be completely honest. But at least there's some other material, new market moving kind of headlines today. We'll talk about MetaMask. We'll talk about Plasma going live on Hyperliquid Premarket, which has really interesting implications for just all token launches, actually. Because I said this after Pump launch. It doesn't really matter what price you want to launch a token anymore, because if Hyperliquid launches your token for you on pre-markets and it does so much volume, we will find out what the market value of the token is. So super interesting implications to discuss there. One PSA before we get into the price action to start getting up to speed with everything that we're going to talk about today is, I know we said we would be doing the YEET giveaway today for all the people participating on our leaderboard. However, and I've just checked it now and it seems to be back. It basically, the data got wiped for a period of time. I put the message in the Telegram. All of our names were not there. They are there now. So I don't know if we can sneak it in towards the end of the show. Let me think on it. Brad,
I'm number 2. I'm upset.
Brad, do you think could you do, while we do the show at some point, could you set up one of those things with those 13 names while I'm leading the show? If I send you this link of the YEET board, could you set up one of the random picker names? Thank you. So, okay. I thought we were not going to be able to do, I thought we were not going to be able to do the leaderboard, the giveaway, because the leaderboard kind of got wiped earlier, but it looks like it's back. So, Brad will set that up and we'll do that giveaway towards the end of the show. We'll talk about who's done a bunch of activity today. Oh, actually, Brad, we won't be able to do it because I'm not logged in and we're going to have to do it Monday. Sorry, guys. Because we have to do the free spins.
You yanking my chain? Bro, it's too early for me to be dip, dive, ducking and dodging like this. What are we doing?
We are not doing it today. We're not doing it today because I'm not logged in. Look, this is what happens.
Can I save us? I'll save us.
You can't. You can't save us this time, Brad.
All right.
You can't do it.
You heard it here first. It's all B-Check's fault, and there's nothing we can do to save it.
It's just I'm trying to explain to people that the giveaway thing was dead, and then I refresh the link, and it's all there again. It's like, okay. Oh, well, look, we're going to do it on Monday, guys. We've got the data, so don't worry.
Yeah, we have the technology. Yes.
we'll
figure it out.
Right. Look, let's get into it, though. In the meantime, get you up to speed as usual, starting with the price action. We have Bitcoin is down 1% to $112,000, down 5% on the week, or ETH flat at 4.2K. It was at 4.3, just dipped down again, down almost 8% on the week. XRP is down a couple of percent too, to $282. Got BNB flat at around 846. Solana's down back to $180.
That's still is that BNB still above all-time highs? I know people were celebrating that on the timeline.
No, BNB went to 880, so that was all-time high a few days ago. Just underneath 880, which
Nice
was
while
all-time high.
it lasted.
Still not bad though, right? Like right up there with the other majors, I guess, touching all-time high. Well, obviously Solana and ETH not quite there. Hyperliquid is up 1% to $41.80, and you have Sui down a couple to $3.30. Getting into the meme coin side of things, we have Yeezy, Kanye West's token, down another 40% today. Really very much rejected by the market, I think, here. I feel like finally people have flushed this stuff out of their system. I'm pretty sure it went as high as $3 billion or 2 point something bill on its launch, up in a straight line, and has been straight line down more or less. A little bit of a bounce
volumes.
Pardon?
I said, look at those volumes.
Yeah.
Did you see the guys who helped him launch it were on Instagram, like celebrating, rugging everybody? I think that's probably didn't help.
Oh, no shit.
When I was on Coffee with Cap, like a little bit later in the morning, I saw a video where, it was starting to go around on X, but it was on IG, and it was like these young kids who helped him like launch it, and they're just like gloating, and it was just screenshots of them doing insider trading, peeling out.
How do we know it was them?
Touche. I mean, it was basically that. It was like people were porting it over from Instagram, saying they were the ones who were, and they were showing screenshots of the conversation.
Yeah, I think people have got it out of the system now. Maybe. I mean, I still think there will be more celebrities coming to the market, but I don't know. You get that initial pump, and it's clearly not lasting as long as people would like anymore. So maybe the market is maturing in that regard. In terms of the other, maybe more lasting meme coins, Doge is down 3%, Pepe is down a couple, Pengu's down 3%, Trump's down 3%, Bonk is down 1%, SPX is down 4%, Fartcoin is down 3%, WIF is down 3%, all kind of single digit down, to be honest. A bit of a red day across the board here on the meme coin side of things. Getting into the headlines themselves, we're going to have to update this a little bit, make sure we're on the right day of news. We've got the market pretty much waiting for Powell's Jackson Hole speech. Funky's going to give us a little bit of a summary here, some thoughts, and we'll do like a final discussion there. I don't know if we want to go into too much detail. I feel like we've done it in sufficient detail, and the timeline's discussed it to death. So we'll just set it up for today. We've also got MetaMask announcing its own stablecoin, which I think is relatively big news too. And maybe the biggest kind of price sensitive news is Hyperliquid Premarket for Plasma's XPL launched today. It's trading at 4.7 billion in early trading. That's after its raise not long ago in public at a 500 mil FDV. So that's a big win for depositors, although there are some mechanics there where it's not as a clean win as you might think. It wasn't a traditional pre-sale, so we'll explain some of those details and mechanics in just a little bit. Some other notable price action: OKX token OKB was up another 15% to 4.7 bill, and Bio is up 26% to 620 mil. I believe this is a DeSci token, which is they're gonna start doing their own launches or something. Usually I'd be skeptical about that kind of stuff, but there's some quite prominent people who I respect as traders who are interested in that new DeSci launch ecosystem. So definitely wanted to bring it to your attention. Some notable sales on the NFT side. This X copy that I'm showing on screen, Death Wannabe, I think it's very cool. I've never seen this one before. Sold for $475,000. Pretty cool one. And in terms of the rest of the market, we had some CryptoPunk selling around 50 something ETH as well. Cyberkong's Rainbow Shade selling for 5.95 ETH. Getting into the rest of the roundup, a wallet holding 86,000 Bitcoin, which is $9.6 billion, deposited 600 Bitcoin to Hyperliquid yesterday and sold half for ETH. This is really cool how I think a lot of the activity is kind of circulating around Hyperliquid now, and you're getting really big whales that kind of go there to make big moves. And there's one awesome account that's kind of tracking all of this stuff. So that's interesting to note. Binance announced increased allocation for Plasma's USDT locked product launch, and the limit went up to $1 billion with 250 mil just opened. Singapore's largest bank, DBS, announced the issuance of tokenized structured notes on ETH Ripple partners with SBI to roll out RLUSD stablecoin in Japan by Q1 2026. State Street becomes the first third-party custodian to launch on JP Morgan Debt Digital Service. So a lot of corporate stuff in the news here. And you have the EU considering ditching the CBDC for a stablecoin on a public blockchain, which is what the FT reported. And then in final news, new launchpad Heaven hits $1 million in daily revenue. Modest, the very sought after popular artist, mints out 6,969 token creative system NFTs for $1.1 million. Who would have thought NFTs still strong, specifically on the art side, when the artist has created like a very strong and affluent community? And finally, Camp Foundation released the airdrop tracker for users to register for upcoming airdrops. One point I'd make here before we I want to come to you guys to speak about, I don't know, different bits of the news that you're finding interesting before the main headlines, is this airdrop new habit where you seem to have to register before every airdrop now. You have like 2 or 3 days to register for an airdrop, and for this one, check this out. So
and like a 5-day claim after it, and then it's gone.
Yeah, so it's like, even if you've done a ton of stuff with a particular protocol, if you miss the registration deadline, you're basically out. And in this case, this is pretty ridiculous. It looks like they've changed their, actually, I don't know if I think Layer Zero did this as well. Let me just share my screen. So Camp said were forced into saying thank you to the Camp community for all your feedback. In response, the Camp Foundation is removing the airdrop registration fee. All users who already paid the 0.0025 ETH registration fee will be fully reimbursed. So there was an attempt to charge as part of the registration fee. And I know everyone is instinctively going to say, oh, this is terrible and whatever. I'm just going to point out that I think Layer Zero had a cost attached to it as well.
Yes.
And there is like an argument to
tax
make
advantages.
Do
Yes.
Do you want to take that?
Yeah. So I don't know this, like the hyper specifics of it, but I do know it is tax advantage because the actual, like, then it becomes an exchange, right? Like if I swap 0.0025 for 50,000 locked token, right? Then like it is a pricing event technically for that thing. So like the tax implications of that is like, oh, well, you're getting this at a cost of $3, and as opposed to like if it was like actually market priced, then it would be, $50,000 or whatever it is. And then for a US perspective, like that saves me 40% of 50,000 as opposed to 50% or 40% of the $3 I did to exchange it. But I think there's also like, that's one way you could view it. I think another way you could categorize it is like, I remember donation discussions around Layer Zero. And I don't know if it was just like they were labeling it as a donation, and then the implications were actually just the swap and pricing event stuff that I just alluded to. But I do know it does come with tax advantages.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's a good, a helpful partial explanation. Funky, did you want to come in on the kind of airdrop part, the distribution, the checking aspect?
I just think that Web3 is becoming more like Web2 every passing day, right? Like these hoops that you have to jump through. Back in the golden age of airdrops, like your wallet was just connected to the protocol, and bam, here's your stuff. Like you didn't have to, I mean, to an extent, everybody loves Hyperliquid, right? Like that's the darling. You had to do something. There was like a checkbox that if you missed, because I know like one of my fellow kings in the kingdom, like didn't hit some checkbox and basically got screwed out of his airdrop. So there were, I think we're seeing more and more of these kinds of mechanics. And I feel that's not fair in an industry where many people have their attention all over the place, trying to stay up on all the alpha, get into as many opportunities as they can, and to be penalized by missing some very specific, in this particular case, very small window of time. I don't think that that's cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's something very annoying about it. I do understand. This is what I understand, but this is the thing. From a company or corporate perspective, you want to know more about your customers. You want to know who they are. It gives you decent data. It means that you can tell people, look, these are these are my customers. This is why maybe if you want to partner with us, it would be an appropriate partnership. It helps you from a commercial perspective. There's all kinds of issues with that when everyone keeps leaking everyone's data, not intentionally, but by mistake. And you should like, look, I don't want you to keep losing all my data. You know, there's security issues around that. So I get why we built this universe, which is like, look, let's do this stuff trustlessly, permissionlessly. You don't need to hold a ton of my data. You shouldn't need to give my email address and my phone number to buy a coffee at a shop, you know, for example. Like, it's just getting a little bit ridiculous. And that's why I think, like, look, if you want to kind of hold true to the ethos of this industry in this space, you're going to have to push and maybe just forego this stuff. Like you're going to have to think like, okay, well, I'm going to find my opportunities in a different part of the industry rather than this KYC heavy hand over all your data, scan your eyeballs in order to get $50 part of the industry, because there's going to be those opportunities where the more you give, the more you get. But there's also ways to not do that as well, right? But, you know, we're clearly on a trajectory where it's like, give me all your wallet details, give me your eyeballs, give me your phone, email, number, and all this stuff. It seems like we're trending in that direction, which I think, you know, is not ideal, frankly. But you just got to decide on a personal perspective what you're willing to give up, I guess. It's the same as all things. Okay. So that's what I wanted to bring up. Anything catching your guys' attention before we hit the main stuff? Maybe coming to you, Bread, first, and then to Funky.
No, I'm actually pretty excited about the headlines today. I was digging into some of the stuff, and it's got my brain percolating on where we're going with some of this world. So, yeah, I think you covered a lot of the big ones. Wait, actually, no. As I say that, there was. I'll remember. There was something that was like really top of mind for me yesterday that I want to dig back into. I'll see if I can remember it.
Okay. So while you are doing that, Brett, yeah, I have changed my mind again. I think we should do the giveaway today because we've just got it. And so
am I clicking this YEET boards leaderboard for Modern Market?
This is what we're going to do. Apologies, guys. We're getting into the main headlines in a second, and we're going to do the giveaway. Brad, this is what you need to do. Live admin, 30-second timeout of the show. You just go to the YEET board, take those 14 names minus the hidden ones, obviously, because we don't know who they are, and just put those on one of those spinny wheels, and then we're going to pick a winner towards the end of the show.
I'm not sure I understand what hidden ones means because I just see a list of 14 names.
Yeah, but some of them, it says the word hidden because they've anonymized themselves, so you don't need to put the word hidden.
I see, okay, I see one hidden.
Okay. Two hiddens, I think.
I see two hiddens.
You'll see.
Okay.
Okay. Amazing. So we are going to do the YEET giveaway today. I'm going to be able to log in, I hope, fingers crossed. And even if I can't, then we'll do it off the show after. But I do want to attempt to do at least the spin. People want to see the spin. It's Friday. It's Funky Friday. And so we want to see the spin. So we will do that towards the end. Bread will just be percolating and doing that in the meantime. Funky, anything catching your attention before you want to get into your main headline section, or should we get straight into it?
I'm going to touch on something very briefly because it wasn't in the headlines, but I know we brought it up very briefly in the Modern Market Telegram chat, which is on fire. And kudos to you guys for starting this thing. Highly well curated, and shout out to everybody who's in there. Also, shout out to Chaos Trader, who surged out of nowhere with the volume and took over my #1 spot on the YEET board. So I guess I'm no longer the YEET master. But one thing I did want to touch on. So back in April of this year, the Deputy Attorney General had released this memo, which basically kind of said that we're no longer going to prosecute. We're only going to prosecute actual crime, right? So yesterday, the reason why it became news again, and this is something that I just think is worth a quick highlight, is that one of the assistant attorney generals basically in relation to this further extended some clarity around this memo by saying coding is not a crime. So this is one of the things, and this gets to the heart. If you remember a couple weeks ago, we had the conversation about Roman Storm and everything else and the prosecution around Tornado Cash. So it seems like they're starting to lean in that direction where they're not going to hold devs responsible. Now, hopefully that means that it's going to change the outcome of that particular verdict, but I know it was only a partial verdict. But either which way, this was a really big news, and I think something that's just worth touching on because, and I'm wearing, of course, the classic BBE outfit today because, people are all down in the dumps about price and so on and so forth. But again, just remind everybody, all the winds are blowing in our sails right now, and everything is growing great for the industry. So long term, up and to the right, don't be bearish. This industry is going places.
Like it, yeah. I pulled up this article, which I think is what you're referencing. USDOG to back off money transmitter cases in Shift backed by crypto. The Department of Justice is from Reuters, does not plan to target software developers that create decentralized platforms for transmitting cryptocurrencies without criminal intent. Justice officials said on Thursday. Our view is that merely writing code without ill intent is not a crime, Galeotti said in remarks prepared for a crypto summit in Wyoming. So I agree with you. I think that's really, really big news. It's never good news when you see developers who are kind of creating tools for people to use be prosecuted for the way in which the tools are used. I think that's a very concerning sign in general if we're trending in that type of direction. So I agree with you. I think that's very helpful to see, a good trajectory to be on, and then positive news in that regard. So let's keep it moving then. Funky, you have the main headline for the day. The main headline is, of course, Powell's speech at Jackson Hole. We've been speaking about it a lot, so I'm very curious, just maybe like a short setup for what people should know about it in case they've missed it, but then more like just the thoughts around it now. We've obviously sold off a ton as we get into today. What do we need to know? What do we need to be thinking about from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think if anybody was listening to the show yesterday, you and Signal did a great job having an in-depth conversation about this. And effectively, the market's already priced some of this stuff in. We've already had a significant sell-off, kind of waiting in anticipation to see what Jay Powell is going to say at Jackson Hole. And, whereas before there was like a 75% chance of a 25 basis rate cut in September, now people are calling that into question. We spoke a little bit before on the show about how CPI did cool off, but people are now focusing on PPI, which was up. I think it was like a 3.31% or something like that. And so that producer index has kind of caused some consternation around, oh, maybe we're not going to get the rate cut that we thought we were going to get. Then, of course, as I brought up on the show a few days ago, you also have the dual mandate of taking care of the labor market, which is, another kind of variable in this equation. The jobs weren't great last month. They came in at like 75,000, and the prior 2 months were revised downward another 35,000 apiece. So, looks like the labor market's cooling off. So, I mean, I think the Fed is in a sticky situation in terms of like, what do we do from here? I mean, he's not going to raise rates. You can't. They talk about being hawkish. I mean, to me, hawkish would be like raising rates. No one's going to raise rates in this environment. I feel like it's just a better thing to stay the course and wait and see how it plays out. Maybe the rate cut will come a little bit later in the year. But at the end of the day, global macro liquidity continues to move in an upward trajectory. Risk on assets are going to move this way. I think we are in a market that's dominated by emotions, and people are just hypersensitive. And I've even seen takes like, you guys know, Keyboard Monkey, one of the co-founders of YEET. He's like, oh, we're going to go much lower. And the market was overheated. And it's like, we hadn't even really touched 80 or anything in the greed scale. We're back down to like the middle of it on the fear and greed index. I think the last time I looked, it was like 50. So I don't think the market was all that overheated. Did we have a nice little run and a pump? Sure. But this is quite natural for those people who have been around for multiple cycles. You're going to run hot for a little bit and you're going to cool off, right? And we've seen, BU around last cycle, Bread's been around a bit. Anybody who's been here from one cycle or even 2 cycles back, like, this is nothing. Like Steve K. Bark constantly posts like, what is this, a dip for ants? Kind of quoting Zoolander, because these dips are nothing like the violent swings we used to see in past market cycles, because we have, as Bread loves to call it, the infinite institutional bid. So because of that, I mean, I'm not worried about it. I think this is going to be much ado about nothing. I don't see a massive drawdown because I feel, to your point, B, it's already been priced in. And if we get lucky, we have a pump, right? I mean, so I'm not too worried about it. I think you guys have covered a good bit, and that's a good synopsis.
Okay. B-Check, we do this so often that, and Funky is so good at this, that I forget what I say, and he remembers what I say better than what I remember what I say. So I'm just going to take credit for that. So thank you, everyone, for my infinite institutional bid quote.
You absolutely should. Yeah, who knows what we say? Like, we do this way too much. Funky. Okay, one follow-up question, which I think is important, and then I want to come in as well a little bit on Jackson Hole itself. You said there is an infinite institutional bid, which certainly on the ETH side with Tom Lee has been like really, really strong recently. It's been a lot of the reason why, not just with Tom Lee, you've got Sharplink Gaming, another big one. You've got a bunch of others on the ETH side. However, there has been a few cracks recently. And we were talking about MicroStrategy and how, I think it was on, I can't remember which day it was. Was it a few days ago where we talked about how they changed some of the terms of buying back, selling their shares in order to buy Bitcoin? And that caused a lot. And I don't know if much of our universe in crypto Twitter will have digested all that. Maybe in more traditional investor set of groups, that caused a lot of consternation. So do you just want to speak to that situation? Like, what do you think people need to be aware about there? And to what extent is that affecting the institutional bid? And maybe one final thing there. Remember, we said on Tuesday or Monday, Tom Lee, is in charge of getting all this money together to keep buying more ETH. They themselves said all investing is off until Friday. He said that himself. People are waiting. Eyes are on this speech. So that's also part of setting this context. But Funky, over to you.
So I want to give you a shout out. There was that excellent contrarian take about DATs, the digital asset treasuries. That was a long form post that you shared. And so that is really worth a read. So maybe if you want to drop that in the comments again, so people can check that out. But in a nutshell, what happened was, I think it was 2, 3, 4 days ago, whatever it was, when MicroStrategy came out and they effectively changed their stance on what they had just announced like a week or two ago during the earnings call, where they were saying that anything below an MNAV of 2.5, they would not issue shares. They would only use that in the sense of having to pay off debt, which they don't really have a whole lot of debt, or to pay those dividends. And so all of a sudden, then the wording changed with new guidance. I want to say it was on the 19th, where they would tactically sell ATM, meaning at the market, release some of these shares so that they could then procure more Bitcoin. Now, the rationale behind this was that if they're not selling until they get to 2.5, that would force the market participants to buy the equity and drive the value of the share up in order for them to then engage in their typical buying behavior. Doing this then caused, to your point, a lot of consternation. There's a lot of hand wringing. One of my favorite accounts, who's an old trader from the 80s and 90s, Josh Mandel, he has been a massive MicroStrategy bull, and he's called out Saylor, saying this is not cool. Like, you can't say this, because then it also has just thrown chum in the water, because now the people who are going to short MicroStrategy, trying to prevent it from getting to 2.5, it actually just recently made all of the criteria to be included in the S&P 500, which would put enormous buy pressure on MicroStrategy. Because once it hits all those criteria, all the ETF providers that actually issue an S&P 500 would have to include the equity in their index, and they have to hold some of the shares as part of that makeup. So we're in this really weird place. Yesterday, the most recent FUD was the CFO had sold a confirmed $9.5 million worth of shares for MicroStrategy. I think the first headline said it was 20 million. I saw some fact checking by Grok saying, because all of this has to be disclosed when you're working in a public entity like this, and it was actually 9.5 million. Maybe there has been more, but it hasn't been confirmed at this point. So there was a whole fresh round of FUD about that. MicroStrategy, the share price was down to about 340. And I think Overarch makes a great point, right? Like, buy the underlying, leave the betas alone, because you are playing with a leveraged piece. Just own Bitcoin, right? Like, at the end of the day, that's the easiest thing, is just to own Bitcoin, whether that's if you feel comfortable custodying it yourself with your private keys, or like Bread, right? I mean, he talks about very openly having a lot of his Bitcoin exposure coming through equities, because you can buy the ETF. There's a very minimal, tiny, whatever it is, 25 basis point something like that fee. So it's negligible, especially when you consider the growth of Bitcoin. But yeah, there's just a fresh round of FUD around this. And, you know, that the longer post that I alluded to at the very beginning, this digital asset treasury, he talks about there is going to be some sort of unwind. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And maybe that's in
And
a
you
year.
mean that across the variety of digital asset treasuries, or do you think even with MicroStrategy, based on what you read?
MicroStrategy is nowhere near the levels of debt and everything else. But I think with the smaller ones, you might have an issue. And then especially those that are dabbling in assets that are outside of Bitcoin and ETH. I mean, everybody loves like the Hype D play and stuff like that. But even I think Hype, you know, I think at one point on the show, we had a headline about somebody doing like a Doge fund, you know, like those are crazy to me, because then what they do is create, and when you read the post, these sort of zombie companies, because the whole premise of these digital asset companies is they're buying the digital asset. This is creating a flywheel in which the asset value continues to, the value rather continues to increase. So thereby you're increasing the MNAV underneath it. But you're going to get to a point where, you know, he makes the argument that none of these things should be trading at a multiple over the value of the digital asset anyhow, right? I mean, in a rational world, why would it be worth more? So I totally understand that point. And once that gets to, and he uses Grayscale as the obvious example, because once MNAV collapses, then it becomes a matter of everybody's going to get out of the equity. They're going to sell off their shares, trying to just reclaim their liquidity rather than having to like hang on to it, because then sometimes they're into a position where they're forced to sell, or in the case of Grayscale, they were forced to convert to an ETF. Now, those are also great opportunities, not financial advice, but like I started buying Grayscale when it was sub $10 because I thought this is crazy to me, because before ETFs, I'm like, these guys have the most amount of Bitcoin, like because the MNAV is at a discount, it's like buying Bitcoin at a discount. So
Yes.
like we loaded up on Grayscale during the bear when it was like sub $10. So, you know,
what was that on the MNAV? So it's like what, a 30-40% discount?
Oh, it was almost 50%. I didn't catch the very bottom because I think it got as low as like $5 a share for Grayscale in the bear. But yeah, like, so I think there is something to be said about there may be, and this is kind of we've talked about this on the show for a while, like this will be the thing that causes the current bull to unwind is these digital asset treasuries, but it's just a matter of when, not if.
Just a point of clarity, because like, you know, we had a lot of ephemeral or transitionary listeners. So the MNAV, a reminder for people, we've been throwing it around a lot. MNAV is the ratio between the underlying assets owned by the company to their actual market cap. Right? So if I have a market cap of a company, like my stock is worth 50 mil, but I have 100 mil worth of Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever digital assets owned by the company, the MNAV would be 0.5, because I have 50%. My market cap of my stock makes up 50% of what the assets underlying is actually worth. So there's a 50% discount technically there. Likewise with what MSTR is talking about with the 2.5, that would mean if you have 100 mil of Bitcoin, if the MNAV got to 2.5, that means the equity would be worth 250 mil, right? So it's just, that's the ratio there. So that's what all this dancing is around, is like the market, this capital only has access to the stock. So the stock is going to consistently oscillate around the underlying asset value, and like, which is the entire value prop or the large value prop outside of the managing team and their financial wizardry that like Saylor has been so good at, right? Like he's been able to tap into a bunch of different markets and a bunch of different capital to get exposure to this. Whenever you have assets like the debt market, which is gargantuan, right? That's why they're able to access so much money relative to like some of these other competitors, and do that without like diluting their shareholders.
Yeah. Thanks for, very helpful, just kind of summary there to get people up to speed as well. And Funky, very good set of thoughts just to take us through some, I guess, some deeper analysis, like thinking through the implications of some of the latest maneuvers. I agree that in general, these treasury companies are problematic at some stage, if not very, very soon. We saw one yesterday, the BNB treasury company, which I believe didn't even ever get to accumulating any BNB. It was just announced, got delisted from the NASDAQ because they didn't report stuff properly. And we also saw a Bitcoin treasury company trading significantly under MNAV just yesterday or the day before as well. We reported on that. So there's going to be things happening in that arena, and we've got to keep an eye on it, I think. So that will be helpful.
Can I have two things I want to say on that?
Yeah.
So one is like I like the second order effects I'm starting to see of this is, as Punky said, like once you start trading at a discount, the question then goes to the health of the company and like whether or not they have to sell, right? If they're a forced seller at that point, right? If it's someone that can just like sit on their hands for a year or 2 years or 5 years and then like they're well positioned for it to recover, assuming that the underlying goes up, or if they're like in a position where it's actually a shitty company that's hemorrhaging money that has to acquire funds either to acquire more underlying asset or to do something else, like they're forced to then sell, which then creates this like convexity spiral down, right? You sell the underlying, which makes you worth less to try to buy more, to try to pay off whatever. Like it's not a great look. It's like that's what everyone's starting to anticipate now or trying to quantify is like, okay, which of these companies are best positioned to just hold if need be. And then the second thing is that hearing all this shit just makes me realize, like, again, how valuable video games are and digital economies and basically how everything that we do here inside of crypto, whether it's stupid and around a video game or around a token launch pad or around a DeFi protocol, it all maps one-to-one with the real world and things that have been going on in TradFi for the last X amount of years, right? We're sitting here, we're talking about value accrual across different assets. And it's the same conversations we have around NFT projects that have NFTs and then just launch a token. Like, okay, well, where are you going to drive value to? Are you driving it to the stock or are you driving it to the underlying asset, right? Are you driving like, what are you going to do? What vehicles you have to do? You have to balance the two things. You have to appease the shareholders, which are the NFT holders in this case, but you also have to make sure that you're trying to make the underlying thing like also accrue value. So it just like saying this as like a vote of confidence to people in the crowd who are like you starting to see, right, or dipping into the TradFi world. It's just different words for the exact same problems and the exact same things that we're trying to solve for. And so like if you understand the human behavior of like how people behave and react to this shit, it makes it much easier to interpret and understand and predict how this stuff will play out, because you guys have seen all this shit before, right? These conversations are the exact same that we've had over the last 4 years, 5 years, however long you've been in the industry.
Indeed. I definitely believe that to be true. One thing thinking forward then, I know we've discussed it a lot, and conscious of time, because we only got 10 or so minutes left today. We definitely want to get on to Plasma and touch on MetaMask quickly as well. But my final thought on Jackson Hole, because it is today, Powell's speech will be today, is that earlier in the week I said I thought that people were too complacent that there would be cuts because that's what everyone says that there needs to be. I think we've had the correction required, which is pricing in the potential hawkishness of the increased inflation data. And now I feel like it's kind of done now. Like, I don't know. I think if he was to come out and be super hawkish, then fine. Maybe we can go a bit lower. But the broader medium term effects, I think, is still in line with what Funky said. And so the thing, I can't remember if I was talking to Legendary or if I was just on the show yesterday with you guys saying this, like, to me, it's just a coin flip. I don't know. I don't know at this point. I feel like it needed to correct a bit to kind of price in that inflation, the inflation fear. And I think it's done that. And now it's just a coin flip. I am actually leaning towards there not being anything material to move the market and there to be like no specific drama. And therefore maybe just muted moves one way or the other. But I do think it's a coin flip, and I don't like to be betting on coin flips because I think it's bad odds. So I think the material move lower has happened, and let's see. We'll see. But basically, I don't know. I don't know if everyone knows precisely what the Fed chair is going to say. It's a little bit how we used to say, well, this is the president's market. Who knows what Trump's going to say? So you just never know, and you just react to it. It's kind of a little bit like that now, I think. And all of the thinking's been done. People have gone in either directions. But any show that I've listened to now or any other analyst, it's just a little bit like either we don't know, or trying to zoom out a little bit and think of the medium and longer term of the general trajectory of the market. So that'd be my final take there. 9 minutes left, 10 minutes left, let's say, and we want to do the YEET giveaway too. I think what we'll have to do is we'll do the spin, but I won't actually be able to get into the account. So we'll sort it out. We're going to know who the winner is live on show at least.
Do you make me get set up? I'm not going to be able to spin this effing wheel.
No, you're going to spin it. Do not worry. You will press that button and we will see a spin on your side. There just won't be a spin on my side, but it's okay. we're figuring this out live. Brad, give us the quick thing on MetaMask. What do we need to know on the USD coin? And then I think we're going to get into Hyperliquid and Plasma, because I think that's interesting from a price perspective.
Quick thing inbound. So the headline is MetaMask announces its own stablecoin, MUSD. That's a lowercase m for those who care. So it's labeled as MetaMask native stablecoin. Much consternation around it not being Mask or Meta, which is a token associated to the actual wallet, which has been teased for, I think, 2 gajillion years at this point. TLDR is that it will support on-ramps, swaps, and bridging. It will offer a dollar-denominated experience for holding, spending, and transacting, and it will soon be spendable via the MetaMask card at millions of MasterCard merchants. It'll launch later this year on Ethereum and Linea Build, which is their L2 ZK rollup L2. Honestly, so like it's whatever. The thing that stands out to me though is that the second point in that list of things that they're going to do is going to offer a dollar-denominated experience for holding, spending, and transacting. And why that stands out to me is because I know we speculated on it a ton. MetaMask, despite our pleads with the community to purge it and go to things like Rabby and Phantom and all these much superior wallets, they still boast a shit ton of like daily active users. I think they're like 30 million or something ridiculous, right? It's very, very sticky. And what's happening is they are continuing to remove the moneyness from the money that we are trying to create, right? It's the proliferation of the dollar in all interfaces, and they're doing it in the name of adoption. This is something I've been calling out for a very long time. It is the problem, and I hate to draw this back to Ethereum, but like Ethereum and even Bitcoin, right? They want to play up this moneyness thing. Like this will be the new money of the internet. But you know what the rest of the freaking world is very, very comfortable with? Dollars and cents. And you know what all of these applications will do in the name of adoption and user experience and making things better? They will denominate everything in dollars and cents because it is just cleaner and easier and nicer. You saw it with Moonshot, which is like a meme coin launchpad stuff. You're seeing it with a lot of apps these days where they just like, we'll just make it simpler and easier. And you can show your grandma this without having to explain to her what 0.000375999 Bitcoin and ETH are. So all of these people that are leaning on this thing and saying the moneyness of our thing is what's going to make it valuable, which is an ephemeral, like nebulous thing that just makes it worth something, is eroding. So think about it.
We will. Appreciate that extra update. I think that is it's a shame they're not dropping that damn mask token, isn't it? We would like that very much.
I don't think I'd actually, my scammers would make a lot of money on that, because I vividly remember when I got drained back in my friend tech days, I watched this MFer just swap it all through MetaMask and try to farm MetaMask with so many swaps. Just watched it on Arkham. It was so horrible.
Indeed. A lot of love for your use of ephemeral, Brad. I don't know how many more times you plan on using it. I want to hear the word ephemeral when you do the YEET spin. I want to incorporate it.
It's the only way I can articulate the like transitory. I think is something that I was trying to say there, not ephemeral, like transitory listeners. Because like it makes me, whenever you post something on X, you could post that same thing a week later and it'll hit because it's just a different group of people that are on the timeline that day. That just like for some reason it's sent. It's because everyone is transitory in this space.
We need one more ephemeral before the end of the show, but before we get there, right, we want to hit the Plasma headline because I think that is pretty interesting too. This is the news that Plasma, the stablecoin chain, which is backed by Tether, amongst other prominent investors, including Founders Fund, their XPL token has launched on the Hyperliquid pre-market today. It is trading at 44 cents-ish, 43 cents. It went as high as 50 cents, and which is around, so now it's about 4.3 billion FDV. The raise, which was very recent, which was done from the public, was at a 500 mil FDV. We spoke about it on the show a lot as a very good opportunity. So that, although it might look like, okay, well, that's what is that? It's a 9x at the moment. It's not really, because the way that the raise was done was you had to provide capital, and then the amount of capital you provided was not used as your pre-sale amount. That earned points, and then you were told what your allocation was after a period of time of you providing that capital. I think it ended up being something like, what was the number? Was it 20% of the amount you provided? I could just be completely making this up. 2%? No. I can't remember exactly, but basically you received like relatively small allocation. You had to put in, for example, for a 10K ticket, you would have had to put in hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it was like you had to go in with size if you wanted to get even a relatively modest size ticket. And if you went in with less, you would have ended up with maybe, I don't know, a few $1,000s as a ticket into that pre-sale. Also very interesting mechanics like take TVL because they accepted USDC, for example, and other stable coins. And you're only going to get that money back on Plasma as USDT. USDT numbers have been going through the roof recently. I don't know if people have been looking, but it's been absolutely rocketing, not only because of Plasma, I think, but just in general, it's been going up a great deal. Anyway, and I guess this price action is pretty interesting. So, you know, as I said, went as high as 50 cents, now down to 44. But very, very positive on the price action side. Why would that be the case? People might be wondering. I wrote this piece on June the 9th, which is almost approaching 3 months ago. I kind of shared my thoughts and my price predictions for this, which has actually turned out pretty nicely. I said, number one, Plasma is the tether chain in inverted commas. There are actually other stablecoin chains which Tether are kind of involved in some way. But this Paolo is specifically backing it. Kobe is also an angel. There's no liquid way to get exposure to Tether. And I think some people in some people's minds are like, okay, well, this is a way to do that. You're going to see USDT transfers getting sent to zero. Remember, one of the reasons Tron makes so much money, which is valued at significant multiples to this, is because they've captured a humongous market of USDT transfers between people, and they charge a reasonable amount on that. Plasma is saying, if you want to transfer USDT, you do not need to pay that fee. So that's a potentially bullish factor. Twofold vampire tech. USDC will incur fees to transfer USDT, so they'll appear more attractive in comparison. And I gave you the Tron example already too. This raise was at 500 mil FDV, which I just thought was a steal. And here were my price predictions at the time. I said at the very worst case, $2 billion out of the gate. Base case would be a clean 10x at 5 billion. Then the bull case, March to Tron, which is 22 billion, as they execute on the full vision. Circle coming out so hot clearly helps right now. Remember, at the time when I wrote this, Circle came out and just went completely ballistic as well. So I think that early prediction for me has turned out pretty well. So pretty cool to bring up. And then I've got one final reflection on the prediction markets, but maybe just coming to you guys here. Any reflections on your side? Funky, coming to you first. Is this thesis playing? Does that thesis make sense to you? What are your thoughts?
Makes total sense. And the faces I was making because I looked up the coin, the Circle price, because I hadn't looked at it in forever, and it's down to like 131. I was like, wow. But yes, no, I think
I remember the Clemente 300 dance still.
Clemente's about to get that tattoo, hopefully, of ICO. But yeah, no, I mean, I think your thesis was spot on. I think you guys did a great job. I did not have a ton of stables to potentially throw in there, so I just sat it out, which now I kind of regret, because I think it was, for some reason, I thought it was 10%, like, 100K gets you a 10K kind of ticket or whatever. But I might be wrong too. I might be misremembering. But yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on, and don't doubt Tether, right? I mean, we're in a new age where now Cantor Fitzgerald has taken a 5% stake in the company. We're knowing, they're still going to have that headquarters in El Salvador, of course, but then they're probably going to have some sort of satellite place here in the United States. And it is
the big hire, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, yeah, he just brought on Bo Hines. I mean, like, I just don't, it's a monster. It's just going to keep growing.
KOL directly from the Trump administration. Like,
not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. I mean, yeah, one thing to be clear here, I guess, And look, I think it's hard for us to know when you're on the outside to what extent this connection is there. But I think it's probably correct to be like, okay, well, Tether, Plasma, putting them together, because what you just started describing was a bull case for Tether, which is, technically a separate company. They're obviously invested and involved here.
Tether chain. It is. I mean, that's what Plasma is.
I think that's certainly how it's felt as an observer. And I think a lot of people are either like the idea of running with that or are running with that. And so we'll see. It seems like the price action is maybe suggesting people like that concept as well. So there's that. One question I want to come to you, Brad, with before we then hit the YEET spin to figure out who our winner is this week. And then we're going to be doing the actual free spins after, but at least we'll know who we're doing the spins for, because we had some technical issues. Not prediction markets, pre-markets. What's the implication of this? I've said, like, I think this is a humongous thing now. Imagine before, all these people running coins have to do this big exercise of deciding, working with market makers, talking to exchanges. This is the price we want to roughly come out at. This is how much we think our coin should be valued at. Do you even need to do that anymore? Like, for the premier coins, Hyperliquid just seems to say, we're listing you on the pre-markets. Maybe they talk to the team. I don't know how exactly it works. And then the market just kind of figures it out. Maybe there's a way to game this system. So maybe what I was thinking, was having a good chat in our Telegram this morning. Was like, okay, well, maybe the previous way people gamed a token price, which is like, okay, let's come out at this price and try and hold it there. Maybe that whole game moves to the pre-market if you're a premier token to gain this in some way. You have to have the market makers on the pre-market instead, because you don't have that opportunity to decide the price on TGE day. It starts getting decided in public before you now. So what's your reflection in that direction?
Yeah, I'm not as savvy on the underlying like liquidity mechanics on this. The thing that I want to note from this is the most interesting event. And I did a tweet. It was on August 10th, so a little over 2 weeks ago ish. It's just like, this is the exciting thing. And you know what this is? Like, this is not owning XPL.
Yeah, I know.
This is speculating.
You want to know what the price is. Tell me what the price is.
Know what the price is. No one wants to own anything anymore. Everyone wants to talk about the thing and then move on to the next thing. Like, we did the same thing with Pump, right? People like Pump is was objectively one of the most profitable businesses in this entire space, right? And like, yes, if you're a venture capitalist, you're probably like, okay, I want to own part of this. But the entire like social layer gives no fucks about actually owning the token. They just want to know if they are right or wrong about the valuation of the token, where it's going to go up and where it's going to go down. Like that's it. They want to play the game. They do not want to own anything. So like, this is just like another instance of this, just like the market appetite for this experience, which is a pre-market, which is like the same stuff we kind of saw bubble up with a lot of like the points programs and all that shit. Like, it's the game and everyone loves the game, and we're going to get tired of the actual underlying 2 weeks after it launches, and then we're going to look for the next thing to play the game on, because the fun part is speculating and trying to figure out where the hell this stuff is going. So it's just a reminder that I think that's where all this shit is going.
I think it actually, whether I was saying prediction markets by mistake, but yeah, pre-markets, prediction markets, it just makes you bullish on all of that activity, right? Because it's just the ability to tell the future. Like, people just want to guess, they want to be right. They want to think about it.
Speculation is the PMF of crypto. Like, you can tokenize things and you can speculate on anything.
Yeah. Oxy had an interesting comment here. I think there have been a lot of IPOs recently that would have liked this type of market prior to going live, so they could get closer to the market IPO price. I think a lot of
investment bankers in shambles.
Yeah, but the bankers got to make their money as well, though. So that's the issue there. But I agree with you in principle. People are losing probably tons of money because they don't get proper, they can't get like a proper market fit price to come out at. So that is that. And then I think I had a final thing to say on predictions. Did I or did I not? I don't know. I think.
Are you going to predict the winner of the wheel?
Bring it up, Brad. It's time. So I have nothing further to say on the rest of the stuff, but it is time to do our YEET to decide who the winner is. And then, as I said, we are going to do the spin. I'm going to do the free spins for you later offline because I can't get into the account on this specific computer. Brad, okay, I got to share the screen. So let's see, what are we working with here? And just a reminder, guys, for the people who are watching in for the first or second or are not sure how this works, this is the way our partnership with YEET is working. We'll pick one person from our board, our YEETer board, which is, let me just share that as well so you get a sense of what is going on. The YEETer board is here. We had 13, 14 people participating today. Some people putting really huge volume through the platform already. So we're going to pick, we put all those names onto the spinning wheel. And what we do is we're going to give $250 in cash to one YEET account, which we'll send after the show. And we're going to do $250 in free spins, which we'll do, as I said, because we had some technical issues today, we're going to do that off the show. And so we're going to select that first, that winner randomly now, Brett. So
suggestion.
Go on.
You have all of these guys equally weighted. I think you should incentivize placing at the top of the leaderboard. And in doing so, you should say the higher you place, the more entries you get.
That is an excellent suggestion. And it is what I was speaking with the founders yesterday after seeing some people put like significantly more volume through.
Yes.
We're not going to, so leave that with me, basically.
Yeah.
The announcement for now will be, I'm thinking of a way to,
by the way.
You've just pressed it straight away. You've just done it.
Yeah. I just do it. I just do that. Swella Max.
Swella Max is the winner. Congratulations.
Did you remove no double entries, right?
No double entry. So we know Swella Max. That is it. You don't need to spin again. That's it.
Oh, just the one.
One winner. Winner takes all.
Rip Funky. For those who aren't watching the video, Funky on the desk or the stage here, he was second or third in total volume, and he just missed it by a hair.
I was first, man. Chaos Trader came out of nowhere. Like last night when I went to bed, I was still first. So
it can happen. It's going to happen.
It's all good. Give me motivation for next week, right?
Next week will be a new week. And as I said, we're going to do, I want to play with the mechanics a little bit to kind of reflect that some people did markedly more volume than people who, you know, might have just logged into the platform and done like $1. So we will play with that. We'll let you know what we kind of decide. But thank you so much for participating. As always, we're super proud to be working with YEET. I've known Mando for a very long time. I think it's an excellent platform to be gambling on, backing like responsible docs founders. I think that's important. At all times, obviously, remember to just gamble responsibly. With that out of the way, it's been a great show, guys. It's been a great week. Thanks for joining me up top today, Funky. Thanks for joining me, Bread, as usual. And everyone in the audience, thanks so much for joining. We do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour. We're live on X video, YouTube, and you can catch us on Apple and Spotify podcasts too. Have a wonderful day. Take care, and we will see you on Monday. Bye-bye.